Okay, so for this strike second deal, the deco playing cards that I was using is the big one because it doesn't have the white borders, which is more deceptive because the design it confuses you a little better when it's the second card or the card at the bottom or the top card. Okay, so for this explanation, I'm going to use any deco playing cards with the white borders, so it's easier to explain and it's easier to visualize. Anyway, the way it is done, there is not a lot of things that I can say in this strike second deal because all it is just pushing the top card and grabbing with a thumb this gap over here in the corner so I can pull it out, and you can put it on the table or you can just toss it away, and that's it. Okay, so when doing this strike second deal, notice I have the deck in mechanics grip, and the tips, they are not all the way at the bottom because when pushing the top card it's gonna push more than one card, and I don't have them all the way on top because it's gonna lock the top card. So just barely the tips go right above so I can push off just the top card, and also it's gonna help you to reach right here in the corner, the gap, for a second card to be pulled out. Okay, and notice right here, this is the point of support because when pushing the top card to the side, this corner remains by the thumb pushing out, it still remains the corner right here, and that's gonna allow me when returning the card, it goes back right in the same position. Okay, and it's better when using brand new decks of playing cards, or at least, you know, make sure it's not really wear off to use, so you can do the second deal much easier, you know. So there are two things happening. When pushing out, you reach the next card, and obviously by the speed you can conceal the second deal, you know, or the top deal. Now if you're using this deck of playing cards with white borders, you can instead do the necktie technique, which is lifting the deck to the eye level of the spectator so they can see more towards the front than the top, so they lose the perception if it's the top card or the second card. The top, the second, the top, the second, the top, the second. Now don't be afraid, since this is just a show off, not any purpose to explain this with intention to take any advantage obviously of people, but as an educational purposes, of course. This method of taking the second card, sometimes, you know, by grabbing or going for a second card, you may end up going twice like that. You see, sometimes you may fail taking the second card, and it doesn't matter how professional you are, sooner or later you fail. Of course you don't fail as often as a beginner, but don't be afraid. Like I say, just for educational purposes, teaching people or showing people how others may take advantage of them, you know. So as I said before, these deck of playing cards, the B ones or any other ones without white borders, you may not have the need to do that necktie to lift it up like that. You may as well show just the top, and it's gonna help you this pattern. And you know, there are several techniques for a second deal, but the strike second deal is the easiest one and the most overused in gamblers, and very useful for a lot of performances. Now sometimes instead of putting the card on the table like that, you may wanna throw it out, and the way to throw it out is by just pulling the second card all the way out and then you throw it. And the way you throw it, notice I have it in the index and thumb. Make sure the tips are wet enough so you can have a good grip. The middle finger is right here in the side, so when your middle finger push out before you reach the end point, you let it go. Okay, let go. And for a second deal, just make sure you don't try to throw it in the middle of the way like that, because it may not go really further out. Now I think that's it. There is not a lot of things that I can say about the strike second deal. It's just the fact that you wanna do it in slow motion, of course, to practice to begin with. There are actually a lot of professional gamblers that they can do a second deal with a little tiny separation without even showing the index of the following card, just like that. You may not really have the need to do this little tiny one, as long as you swing. I mean, you don't really need to exaggerate the swinging, just a decent swinging. That's gonna help you a lot, Now, of course, since it is a show-off, I see a lot of people, even professional ones, that they fail a lot when taking a second card, when they try to do a little tiny gap. Okay. Now, some people, they may pull down the top card to reach the second one, but in my performances, I move it sideways, but not straight like that, in diagonal, and reach right here in the corner, this little gap, of course, and go back. Make sure you hit the tip of the index, so it is completely square.